baby.
Helping people passionate about planning for their future rise above investment myths to build real wealth.
Isn't that really just common sense financial advice?
It's both.
Oh, okay.
It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth.
Your own wrestling intro,
Yeah, right,
dude.
exactly. You guys give it up for Scott Brown.
Yeah. Woohoo!
I feel I should jump from a top rope somewhere at this point. It's somebody with a chair.
Exactly. Our guest today is King Kong Monday.
He's here to save money and chew bubble gum.
That's right. He's all out of bubble gum. Scott Brown here, of course, from Edgewater. Yeah, we hope so for sure. That's EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Have you had a good week?
I've had, it's Tuesday, so, there's still time.
You went to Europe. You went to Europe for about 6 years.
Yeah,
here earlier.
that's correct.
How long did it take you to reacclimate to, being back home after you traveled overseas for so long?
So I'm a giant sissy. When it comes to travel, my wife she played tennis the next morning. We got in at midnight. She played tennis, and I was in the fetal position in the bed till about 5 o'clock that afternoon. So I'm terrible. Traveling through time zones messes with me I don't get it.
Brutal. My daughter lived in Denver for a while, and then going back and forth a couple of times. And then she moved to Saudi Arabia for a year to work at the embassy there in the Air Force. And, same thing. She goes, they would, and then my daughter lived in South Africa, and they would regularly fly these 18-hour wings.
Yeah.
And they would come home, and next day we'd get up, go to breakfast. I'm like, how are you guys even alive? I feel like I would have to go into a decompression chamber for a month.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, all you're doing is sitting in a plane. It's not like I'm doing something. It's not like I'm walking from Europe. Why am I so tired? It makes no sense.
It's not a rowboat.
Yeah, I don't get it. It makes no sense.
So Scott comes in on Tuesdays at 5:20, and we talk about some things that you may not know about your own money, maybe some ways to manage your money a little better. We have a couple questions that we always try to have Scott answer. In this first one, right off the bat, I'm kind of not staring at directly, but I can see it at the end of this tunnel, but I don't really know what you mean.
Yeah.
You sent me this.
Yeah.
Why your time horizon isn't to age 65, it's to dead. What do you mean by that? 65 is the normal time that people would retire and start maybe getting their Social Security benefits?
It's what I feared. I have to work till I die.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, working until you die is not necessarily a bad thing. That's something we've been taught, right? Like, 'cause, our ancestors or our grandparents, even our great-grandparents, were farmers and worked in factories, so their bodies were less than wonderful by the time they got to be in their 50s and 60s, so I get it. We don't do. We're sitting here in an slightly air conditioned, apparently.
Thank you.
Booth.
We're good in here.
Yeah, we're not. Apparently, Jack and
Good
Ross
news,
are good.
guys.
I'm wearing a light jacket.
That's great, Ross. Thanks. So the reality is we're not doing hard, heavy lifting work, so we can work. And the studies have shown if people completely stop mentally functioning, stop physically functioning, they die sooner.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a hurry to do nothing. But the point I'm trying to make is, if we consider the average retirement age to be 65, 67, whatever it is, people will often say to me, well, Scott, I don't want to take any more risk, and I use risk just as a catch-all for investments, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, whatever it is. And it could be a conservative mix or an aggressive mix. It doesn't really matter for the point. The point is that your time horizon is not till when you retire. People say, well, I can't afford to take risk after 60 or 65 or 67. And then there's all these dumb things people say, well, you take your age and then you divide it by the years or your mortality or something, and that's how much you should have in bonds. They come up with these weird algorithms equations that make no sense. The reality is you take as much risk as you need to be successful, and that does not change because you've reached 65. Your time horizon is till you die. So if you say I'm retiring at 65, the average life expectancy in this country is around 81, 82, you got 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 20 years. I have 90-year-olds. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett fame, just turned 100.
Yeah.
Right? His time horizon is apparently to 150, best I can tell.
He's also got like $40 billion in the bank. So
he sleeps on a very comfortable bed of money, which keeps him alive. But the reality is you need to stop thinking in terms of these finite periods where at this point I stop being this investor and I become this person who puts the money under the bed.
So online, you see these memes all the time. You see them on Facebook or these pop-ups like, hey, do you have enough money to retire?
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what the average person at 55 years old has enough. Are you this guy?
Don't click the link, Jimmy.
Don't do it.
Don't do
It's
it.
clickbait like crazy, but you see that stuff a lot, and it goes kind of what into your point of, those finite numbers, those things, or should I have this number? Is there a scale or anything that kind of tells you, like if I'm 55, 60 years old, I've been contributing to a 401k for 15 or 20 years, or what you should have going into that age? I mean, is there anything like that?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice if it was that simple. You're 55, you should have 500 grand. You're 60, you should have 600. Whatever. That's. I mean, it just doesn't work. Everybody's different. If you've been making $150,000 your entire life, and you have $1 million in the bank, I got news for you. It's probably not sufficient. If you've been making 50 grand for your entire life and you got $1 million in the bank, that's sufficient, right? There are reasons. There's math involved here, people. You need to kind of focus on who I am, what I'm used to, what is my lifestyle. I know it's hard. I know, like, I gotta take out a piece of paper and figure this out, which takes all of 5 minutes, by the way.
Right.
You need to do these things to understand how much risk you should take, going back to my original point, which is your time horizon is not from 50. If you're 55, it's not to 65. Your time horizon's another 30 years more than likely.
Right.
So you need to stop thinking that way.
Right, and I don't. Actually, I think we were talking during the breaks a couple weeks ago, and I was telling you, kind of position I'm in, and I'm like, I don't even really think about 65. Like, look, I'm just getting my life started. I see at 65 things I want to do on top of that. So I don't really even think about that finite number either. I agree 100%. And I know I've seen my pop, stay active, play poker, go and do stuff, not just sit around.
Yep.
And of course, he's 83 now, still drives a card room and plays poker against guys all the time for real money. And that's how he keeps his mind sharp and doing things like that. And, still productive as hell.
Dude, you're like Benjamin Button.
Yeah, right.
You're starting all over.
Yeah.
Going backwards?
You have a lot of Benjamin Button vibes now when I think about it.
Are you feeling it?
Yeah, so when you were talking about like budgeting and of course writing it down on a piece of paper, which I have done, but I never stick to it. And the reason why is gigs.
Yeah.
Stand up. Sometimes I pick up another shift at another job and maybe I'll do a little bit more work on the weekends. I mean, what's the advice for somebody who has income, but it's also just unbelievable? It fluctuates throughout the entire year. Every year's kind of a little different.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really fair and somewhat tough question, because if your income does fluctuate, if you're commission-based, if you're like a server or you're a car salesperson, who knows why your income fluctuates. One, it's feast or famine kind of situation.
Real estate.
Yeah, real estate, you have to kind of think of your in your case, Russell, if you think of it as, I have a business, I'm an entrepreneur, I do this thing, I do that thing, I do 4 different things, and I'm going to pay from the cumulative businesses myself this much. I'm going to make $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month or whatever the number is, knowing that your average earnings are 5 or 4 or whatever they are. You need to pick a number below that. Say, that's my W-2, right? If you're thinking about it as an entrepreneur would, right? That's my salary. At the end of the year, if there's 10 grand or 15 grand or 20 grand in the kitty, then that's my profit sharing, right? So you need to look at the average. If you go back and keep track, if you wrote down every week what you made, and then at the end of the year, you said, I averaged $723.50. And then you said, I am going to spend $623.73 because I have a base of savings. And then at the end of the year, use that to bonus yourself whatever the profits are. That's how I would approach it.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, that's perfect, actually. So let's move on.
Good, because I just made that up.
Yeah. That's how dumb I am. It sounded perfect.
No, that was great.
Let's move on to this next thing, because I find this interesting as well. It just says, I'm old. I won't have time to make money back if it drops. Now, I think we all kind of went through this, right? In 2008, when the market kind of fell off, everybody was watching their 401k dissipate in front of their face. I knew people who made some pretty dramatic moves with their life savings because they thought it was never going to end and they were going to lose everything, going back to the 20s. And of course, my 401k and a lot of other people's are still pretty down from what it was a few years back, but I never really panicked.
Yeah, I mean, again, the assumption there's a couple of assumptions you have to make when you say that. If you say, and we use 401k because most people have a 401k.
Right.
And if you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm checking out, I'm tapping out, I'm getting out of the game, it's all going into the money market or the savings account, what you have to say 2 things to yourself. The first thing you're assuming is it's never coming back.
Right.
And what you're also saying is, that's it, folks, America, it's been fun, but this capitalism thing turns out it ain't going to work out after all, right? That's what you have to say to yourself, because, again, use the scenario, because if you think about what mutual funds are, which is predominantly what makes up a 401k, what's in a mutual fund? It's stocks, right? It's AT&T, it's Caterpillar, it's IBM, it's Microsoft, it's Apple. Apple,
Blue
it's
chippers.
John Deere. So what you're saying to me when you get out, I'm getting out, I'm done, I'm over, I don't more, is that all of those companies are going to go out of business. John Deere, IBM, AT&T, they're going to go to zero. Simultaneously. And not only is that going to happen, but when that happens, somehow the thing you have is going to be okay. Because I got news for you. When all of those Fortune 500 companies go out of business that you're worried about go out of business, the banks are done, the credit union is done. I mean, it's apples and rocks in the streets, people. So there's no scenario where that makes any sense.
Right. So just kind of play it out. Is that what you mean by that? That I'm so old, I won't have time to get it back? What do you mean by that statement?
What I mean is oftentimes a client will say, or a person I meet will say, well, I mean, I have to be super conservative because I'm 65 and I don't have time for it to come back. And what they're saying to me is, I will be dead. And what I will tell you is, nobody who's dead worries about their money, right? So either you're dead or you have time, but it can't be both, right? You can't say, well, I'm going to be dead and that's bad somehow. I mean, it's bad for you, but ultimately, if you live, then the money will have time to come back. If you don't live, I got news for you, it doesn't matter.
Right. Is there any movement inside a 401k? Like when you have your 401k, is there a way to manipulate that or choose different options within that? Or is it a set thing? Like, that's the money there, I don't touch it. I know when you go to your Fidelity account, it gives you an opportunity to kind of pick and choose how you want to kind of move it around or do whatever. But do you suggest that?
No, I hate that. What I would say to you is pick what makes sense in the beginning. They usually have a little questionnaire you fill out, and it gives you a number, and the number correlates to a portfolio, and just do it.
Yeah.
The problem is I give this example in seminars sometimes. I'll say, when you're on I-4, right, and you're sitting in traffic, and your lane stops. So then what do? You look at the lane next door, yes? And it's going, so you get in that lane. What happens?
Stops.
It stops. What happened to the lane you were in?
It goes.
It doesn't work for investing either, because what you do with your statement is you get your statement at the beginning of the month. You look at your statement, you're like, oh, my thing is down. I will look over here and move to the thing that is up. And then you move to the thing that is up. Now you're very proud of yourself. The next month your statement comes. You can't wait to open it because you're a genius. You open it up and the thing you were in is up and the thing you moved to is down. Stop doing that. That is a very, very bad strategy in driving and in investing.
Is it common to do that? Is it
people do
all
it
the
way
time?
too often.
Jim, dude, look at me. I'd never do that. I have never done that once in my life. I definitely have.
Hey, Scott, now I gave Ross $500, let's say about, 3 years ago, Ross?
Oh, yeah.
Now, that is a great term there. He gave it to him.
Yeah.
Without expectation on it, doing anything or getting it back.
I mean, at this point, you basically gave it to me.
Ross led me to believe that he was a stock picking genius.
Yes.
And I said, let's try this. Let's see what he's got. Maybe, just maybe, this is one of those situations where it's that situation where you look at him, you're like, this guy doesn't look like a financial genius by any means. Or, let's face it, any kind of genius. But either way, I mean, we could give him $500 and let him invest it into the market, and and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And he did that a while back. What do you think Ross invested my money into?
GameStop.
Not GameStop.
No,
it was way before the GameStop thing.
So before you
Crypto.
but between crypto and GameStop, you
weed stock. Well, you go to what you know, frankly. I mean, I understand that.
Hold on, because when they say weed stock, it's like I just bought a bunch of weed.
That probably would have worked out better, by the way.
I bought weed real estate. Like it was real estate for grow farms and whatnot for indoor growing. As I say it out loud.
Yeah. Sounding worse and worse.
It doesn't sound great. But hey, you never know. Don't call it a comeback.
So where are we?
I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Where's his statement? He hasn't seen a statement in a while.
About every 6 months we check in, and the last time we checked in, I think I was down about $150.
He writes your totals on the back of rolling papers or something?
Yeah, zigzags.
Fantastic.
That's what it is. It's the zigzag portfolio.
Yes, I like it.
So I know that you have a big seminar coming up this weekend, do you not?
Next week.
Next weekend.
I believe it's Wednesday the 15th.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to come join us for, I think the title we're working with today is the 5 questions the mass affluent fail to ask their financial advisor, and these are just tips for dealing with your financial advisor. Because a lot of people are intimidated to ask questions because they feel like it's a dumb question or they'll talk over my head and I won't get it anyway. I really think that's a terrible idea to not communicate your questions to your First of all, they can't help you if you don't ask questions.
Right. Just out of curiosity, I saw something this weekend. I saw one of these articles as I kind of kind of scroll through the news, and it said, this is when you should fire your financial advisor. Now, I didn't open the story because it wasn't something we would talk about normally, and
Right.
you bring your own topics. But is there a situation where if you have somebody helping you out, you can look and see a few markers of maybe you're with the wrong person, or is that more of a personal thing? Like you're looking to find somebody that you really enjoy being around, that kind of knows their deal, or how do you choose them?
Well, I think you got to trust them first.
Yeah.
And if you have an adversarial relationship with your advisor where you're always checking on them and you're always not sure about what they're saying to you, or they're not communicating at all, that's the worst one. Statistically, people leave their financial advisor for lack of communication. It's not even a performance issue. It's more of haven't heard from him or her in a year or two.
Wow.
They only call when they feel like I have some money. And the big thing I would watch out for is just product sales. If they haven't even had a conversation with you and they already know what you're going to buy, quote unquote, it's they don't, how would they know, right? How, does it need to be tax deferred? Is it, the annuity sale, the life insurance sale, the mutual fund sale, whatever it is. And I'm not saying these are bad things, but they should at least understand why they're putting into them.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the seminar coming up next Wednesday.
And you can go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and there's a place for you to log in and sign up if you'd like to come. There will be food served, which is always nice.
And I know we have some Jim Colbert Show listeners that have already signed up and are coming out there, so you will not be there alone.
You'll not be stuck with me by yourself.
Is there a common misconception that you need a lot of information about financial markets or the way money moves to be good at being an investor? Do you really? Can I go to one of your seminars and come out of there and go, oh, okay, well, I know I'm not going to dive in and do anything crazy, but I also know the mistakes not to make.
The primary thing you need to be a good investor is humility and curiosity and patience. Right. If you have those three things, you can't screw it. Patience is the number one.
We need patience, Jim, because we're bleeding.
Yeah. So the reality is, Buffett likes to say, is the stock market's a tool for exchanging money from impatient people to patient people, and that couldn't be. I'm telling you, if you're patient, and I don't care what you bought, as long as it's a quality item, a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or whatever, time will erase most problems.
Really?
100%. The S&P's earned, 8, 9, 10% a year for 100 years. If you get out when it's down 7% or 15%, guess what you don't get? The next year when it's up 20.
Sure thing.
So you don't get the average. You can't have the average if you don't stay in for the period of time.
Yeah.
And that's where most people go wrong.
Do you see so you see a lot of people, you work with a lot of people with 401ks and their IRAs and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Is it down a certain percentage still across the board for people? And do you see that moving or anything like that?
So we're seeing the markets trying to recover. We are still negative from the peak in early 22. So if you looked back to the market in 2022 and you come to today, we're down a smidge. We're not down a ton, but we're down a little bit. But we also had a weird year last year where non-correlated asset classes, in this case stocks and bonds, which usually don't move at the same time in the same way, did. And the move was down, right? So there was literally no place for anybody to hide last year. So you got your statement. You're like, hey, I thought I had 50% of my money in bonds, and they weren't supposed. They all went down because the aggregate bond market was down 14% last year.
Wow.
And that's bonds, which that's an anomaly. That almost never happens.
Right, yeah. So you mean it's definitely going to come back. That's the whole point. Right?
Again, back to my first statement is if you don't believe it's coming back, you probably need to move to a different country, right?
Yeah. And speaking of coming back.
Oh, you are, we are down.
Is there an amount? Or?
Yes. There is a $500 investment. We are currently looking at stock that is worth about $360.
Oh, that's
not terrible.
Look,
well,
man.
it's not great.
Look,
dude.
down 140.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Then I did that math wrong. 240. We're down 240.
Oh, so hold on now.
That math doesn't add up.
Yeah,
We're down
260. Sorry.
260.
260.
We're down 260.
That's not stellar
we're
performance.
At 260. We're down 240.
Time out. So you have
40.
Scott said that's not stellar performance. You're down 45%. Not
and
optimum.
The Hard Rock Sports Betting app went live again today.
Jack,
maybe
I love this.
you can make it back.
Yeah. Double down.
Orlando City is looking at like plus 270 odds.
You are willing. Let me say, I am no problem with this. You're willing to cash that money out and gamble it on sports as much as you want.
Then let me get back to you.
What could go wrong?
Time out.
You're willing to do that. If you can cash that out and you're willing to place sports bets on my behalf, you can do that. I have no problem.
Scott Brown as the
He's running good. He's running good, Scott.
Official, unofficial financial advisor to the show. What are you?
I love this. So, I mean, again, I don't.
You should not say that on the mic.
Again, what could go wrong at this point?
You should not say
I
that
mean,
on the
think
mic.
of the tax advantages of losing all his money. If he'll get to write that off, it'll be fantastic.
Trust me, way ahead of you. Way ahead of you, buddy.
So I
Give me a
understand.
receipt.
I understand stocks and bonds and whatnot, but have you ever watched Korean baseball?
No, I can't say that. I was
Just saying.
Is that something we're betting on?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's go Nippon Ham Fighters.
Yeah, AA Korean baseball is where he's found his real.
How am I
groove.
missing this?
Yeah.
What state? What ESPN is that on? 15 or 16?
All you have
no,
to do-
I got a
all you-
link.
All you have to do is go to Ross's seminar. It's next. All right, EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. Seminar is next Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock in the morning.
I think it is 11:30. Yep.
You serve lunch. It's at Orlando Country
It's
Club.
downtown. Yeah, it's at College Park. They don't, for whatever reason, they don't want to say that. But yes, that's essentially where it is.
So you get a nice setting. You're going to get some information that could really help you out in your life. Get a lunch.
Yep.
And this is just a series of these. You do them throughout the year?
We do. We do them all year long, and we typically do 15 to 20 a year.
Very nice. So
Yeah.
it's EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. Get your information there. Get registered. Show up and learn something, man. Make yourself better at your money.
Get a sandwich, get smarter.
There you go. Thanks, Scott. Good seeing you, buddy. All right.